Hello everyone, and welcome to a bit of brewing. Usually we'd be, hi everyone, welcome to another beer review. But I thought I'll give you a bit of insight of what I get up to in my spare time when I'm not reviewing beers. And I know probably think, a lot of you might think that I'm actually up to all God knows of water and illegal activities and everything else, but no, I'm actually quite boring and I actually get on with doing mostly socially acceptable things. But anyway, what we're going to do is a bit of brewing today, and what we're going to cover in part one is some of the things that people either think they need or are told they need and everything else. Brewing should be fun, but it also should be affordable. And this is one of the things where I find it difficult, because you get a lot of these people giving advice and they've all got all this fancy kit and they've spent thousands and thousands of pounds. And then you're thinking, do I need to do that? And then they're making all these wonderful beers and they're telling you, well, the reason why these beers are so wonderful is because I'm using this thousands and thousands of pounds worth of kit. And let's be totally honest, you don't really need that. There's many reasons why people brew beer. Just like there's many reasons why people play different sports or do any types of hobbies, and there's always going to be the extremes in this, and there is ones where people will take it to the extreme and it's more a kind of a, I must be a good brewer because look at all the kit I've got. It's got nothing to do with that. I know people that can brew absolutely fabulous beers and they've got very little kit and they really work with the minimum and the basics. So it's not about what kit you have or how much you spend. It's like anything, it's how much you care. It's that attention to detail. And no piece of kit is ever going to make inroads in attention to detail. If you do things right and consistently, you will get the results regardless of what equipment you're using. And also, it's better spend the money on the ingredients, not on the equipment. You'll get far better results from better ingredients than you would using very expensive equipment. So, what we're going to look at is some of the stuff we need. And the best way to try and describe this, you only need one piece of kit. And you need a fermentation vessel. That's the only kit you really need to do home brewing, whether you're doing beer, wine, cider, and any other forms of concoctions. That's what you need. You don't need anything else, because that's the basic thing you need. You need an environment to actually ferment in, and that's a fermentation vessel. And that's what you need to create alcohol, and that's what you're doing. Now, regardless of your reasons, some people may want to brew alcohol and do home brewing for price. It's cheaper. And if you stick to that mantra, at your leg time, oh God, oh. When you get to that time, it is, the more you spend, the less cheaper it is. So you've got to find that type of balance. Yes, you can make, beer at under 50 pence a pint. But is it the best beer at 150 pence a pint? Is it better to maybe spend a little bit more and get something that's maybe just slightly over 50 pence but a far better beer? So you've got to kind of work to what you want to do. If you want to drink crappy beer but it being really cheap, then that's fine. If you want to drink a decent beer at a cheaper price, then yes, you can do that. Not a problem. And then you've got people who want to basically brew beer because they want to experiment. They want to try different things. They want to kind of come up with their own recipes and do things, and again, that's fine. Then of course you've got people that want to do it because they can't get certain beers where they are and they maybe like certain types of beers. Good example is trying to find a good Yorkshire bitter in Scotland is very, very difficult, so you either have to come down to Yorkshire to buy it and then take it back up with you, which again is added expense, or buy it online and get it shipped up, which again isn't cheap. So if you can actually brew it yourself, then of course that makes it a lot more affordable and a lot more easier to have in your life. So there's all these different types of things for the reasons why people choose to home brew. And a good example is you don't need much, and this is what we want to cover. So fermentation vessels, there's a kind of selection of fermentation vessels, including this big bugger here that hasn't been opened yet, but I will get round to it and I will do a review on it. But the simple and the basics, there's a bottle of 5 litre water. You can actually use that as a fermentation vessel. Because all you need to do is, where's it fit now? You just need to put an airlock on, through there, and you've got a fermentation vessel. Now, with a 5 litre bottle, you could do a 4 litre brew out of there, not a problem. As long as it's sterilised and everything else, you've got the airlock, yeah, you could utilise that, not a problem. Most popular piece of kit is one of these brewing vessels that you get as a part of a brewing kit. I mean, ignore the name on it, but that's just one of many companies that can sell these things online. You can buy them on Amazon. And they're usually around about the kind of £25 to £35 mark, depending on if you're just buying the bucket or you're buying some extra additional kit. That might make your life a bit easier, but again, not critical. The major thing I would probably say, if you're going to buy any one, make sure it's got a little tap on it, because that will make your life a bit easier. But again, not critical. This doesn't have it, and you can still basically make beer or wine or anything else in that. And then you've got more kind of small batch stuff. Again, this is a pinter system that you can buy. I'll just lift it up so you can see it. It's a pinter system. You can buy these. These are kind of more small batch systems. That's obviously a small batch system, and even this one is a small batch system because it uses a little gallon kind of brewing vessel inside, which there we go. Things are kind of slightly reversed. So there's all that kind of stuff. This and this is kind of a larger batch. So what they're doing is they can make roughly about 22, 23 litres, or the equivalent of roughly 40 pints in both of these. So that's what you basically need. And again, things like this are more expensive, things like this are more expensive. This is kind of medium, and these are the kind of cheaper end. And yeah, if you're doing small batch, you can do something like that or something like that. Or you can get a smaller one of these, or if you want to do bigger batches, this, or even go into something like this. But these are the type of things you need, and that's really all you need. There's lots of other kit you can have that, like I said, will make your life easier, but this is all the basic kit you're going to need. Now, let's go on to what type of things, especially from a beer angle, would you use and what type of ingredients. Now, it's usually quite easy, because one of the things is you can buy ready-made kits for brewing. So you can just basically, it's almost just add water. Add water, a bit of time, a bit of cleanliness, and there you go, you're off. And it really is that simple. So a good example is what you can do with things. You've got extract kits. Oh, this is going to fall. Something like that. That's an extract kit. And what it does is it has basically a liquid known as malt extract. This is known as LME, which is a liquid malt extract. So basically what it is, it's like a concentrated wort. Now we'll cover wort at a later date and things like that, but what basically wort is and things like that. But wort is a very kind of base requirement for any form of kind of beer brewing. So this is a kind of concentrated version that you basically dilute water, comes a wee sachet of yeast, and yeah, as long as everything's clean, put them two together with the right amount of water in one of these vessels with an airlock on it, and you're away. There you go. So many days later, your fermentation's over with, and then what you're going to do with that, well, we'll cover that in a minute. So you've got that type of stuff. Then of course you get these stuff. Now this is again kind of all-in-one kit. It comes with hop extracts. This stuff is already pre-hopped and things like this, so you don't actually have to add anything. This has got hop extracts as a separate thing that has what we call DME, which is dry malt extract, so it's a powder rather than a liquid, but again, kind of concentrate. And of course it also has yeast in there as well. Now if you want to know what kind of LME stand looks like, there's light malt extract, and that's basically the equivalent of that. That's liquid form, and that's in the dry powder. So you've got that.
And then of course you can do a bit more advanced, and you can have stuff like this from grains and things like this. So these are milled grains, and what you would do is you would boil them to basically extract the sugars and the flavours from these malted grains. And then what you would do is that liquid is called the wort, and then you would add the yeast, and very basically in terms, brew it basically in one of these type of vessels. So this is like a concentrated liquid of what you would make with boiling the grains off. Now there's a little bit more to it than just boiling them off, and there's a little bit of kind of process in that, but essentially that's just basically the kind of crux of the matter. You boil it off, you kind of make almost a soup. You basically discard all the solids, and the liquid you're left with, that's really your kind of your brewing liquid, or your main ingredient for brewing. And like you say, is two things you need. You need a form of sugar, and depending on what form that is depending what flavours you're going to get. You can have additional flavours like hops that can give you bitterness, or other types of flavours like floralness and citrus and all these types of things. But also what's very important is you need yeast. Without yeast, nothing's really going to happen. It's just going to go mouldy. So you need the yeast to basically feed the sugar to create the alcohol. And that's really as simple as it gets. What you do afterwards, like I say, once it's brewed, well, there's lots of things you can have it in a keg. Even like this is a little tap system goes on there, and of course you can dispense it from the front and everything else. You can decant it from vessels, and you can put it into old bottles that you maybe collected. You can buy new plastic bottles and things like that, and you can also decant it into reusable flip-top bottles. So it depends how you want to do it, and depending how much you need. Let's be totally honest, if you're going to make small batches, do you really need to decant it into bottles? I mean, if you're going to be drinking it 4 litres, it's not really that much. If you take that's equivalent of 8 bottles, well, you're talking you can consume that probably in a 1 week to 2 week period without going mental. And yeah, you don't really need to do that. You can then basically just drink it as is, right from the vessel, and it's called fresh beer. Now, what you can do, of course, is if you want it more conditioned, which in other words, a chance to get it, let it settle and the flavours to mature and everything else, then of course you can decant it into bottles, and it's fine. So that's really all you need. You don't really need much more. So again, when you see all these brewing kind of channels and giving you advice on how to brew, it really is simple is actually the best. And it's also more affordable, which is more in tune with the kind of the culture of home brewing. The point of home brewing is to get a good product, but also to get a good product at a lot cheaper price than say buying it from a finished product from the shops, or going down the pub and buying a finished product from over the bar. So that's the real kind of ethos of it, is there has to be that kind of slight element of value for money. Now, of course, other people would see it as a kind of competition, and they want to brew the best beer they can and everything else. And some of them see themselves in competition with professional breweries and everything. And again, that's fine. That's up to them. Everybody has different reasons for doing it. But my main point is the original ethos was obviously the cost saving, and also the challenge of improving. I mean, everybody makes a bad beer to start with and everything else, but there's also an element of pride with that. And then you start building up, and you will get better, and you learn from your mistakes. Because trust us, everybody makes mistakes. We've all made the mistakes at the start, and we still make mistakes now because we miss things and we forget about things, and it's just natural. It's annoying when you do, but there's also ways you can maybe kind of reverse these mistakes or try and save them and things like that. But we'll cover that later on. So in part 1, this is what we've covered, is all you really need is a fermentation vessel to brew your beer in. And it's the same for wine, cider, meat, any of these other types of things you want to make. If you want to make alcohol and you want to use fermentation processes, then that's where you're going to have to be, and you need a vessel to do it in. So that's really all you need to purchase initially. And if it's going down to your local supermarket, buying a 5 litre bottle, and then going online to the likes of Amazon or whatever, or down to your local brewing shop, which I know there's convenience of going to Amazon or buying online, which is fine and convenient and everything else, but sometimes it's not the best value for money. Going to your local brewery shop usually gives you the best value for money, and you can also pick up a bit of advice there as well, because they're very helpful, and the whole idea is they want to help you to brew good beers, because if you brew good beers and you enjoy it, you'll keep on brewing beers, which means you'll come back to them every time. So if you want to get good advice and get a better understanding and build a good relationship with somebody who can actually help you, just get yourself down to your local brewing shop and buy your stuff there. And they'll even tell you, because sometimes you can have two products that look exactly the same, but one's a lot better than the other, and they can tell you which one's actually better, and which one's the better value for money, it's going to last longer and everything else. So they can also give you product reviews as well, because they're also getting feedback from customers as well that have bought products in the past. But even if you're just sitting in the armchair and you can't be arsed going anywhere, then you can still get it online and send to you. So as a simple one of them, and you're almost off and running. So join us in part 2, where we'll actually do a basic brew using one of these kind of extracts and let you see what it's all about and how easy it is, and also how kind of fiddly it is as well, because I'm not going to lie to you, sometimes it can be a bit of a pain. Sometimes it's like any task you do, some bits are good and fine and not a problem, and other ones are a bit kind of fiddly and just I don't mind the homebrew, but see when you get that bit, it always annoys me. And yeah, it's like anything, there's good points and bad points to it, but overall, when you're sitting back with a nice enjoyable beer for not much money, then there's your reward. It's worth the effort. Anyway, thanks for watching, cheers, and bye for now.